some clip stuff. I have a fun one. So Louisiana recently, for those of you who haven't heard, just passed a law. The governor signed it that requires all the schools, public schools in Louisiana, to post the Ten Commandments, and it's really specific on like it has to be a certain size font and all this shit. It's weird, right? But it's one of those things where it's like, why? I'm like, didn't the Supreme Court deal with this like 30 or 40 years ago that you can't do that? And now you guys are passing a law that you know the precedent is you can't. Well, they are, and part of the reason is this is part of the Supreme Court is so corrupt and right wing now. Because you figure four of the justices, or four or five, maybe it's five, I can't remember exactly, but were selected by Bush Jr. and Trump. Right? So they're pretty right wing. Plus, you got to figure those two presidents, so four or five of the nine justices were selected by presidents who didn't even win the popular vote. So they represent the minority of the country. And they're pretty corrupt now. They're taking money and bribes. And, I mean, they're just making shit up. The Roe v. Wade thing didn't make a whole lot of sense. Their justification was from two guys who weren't even Americans because America hadn't been formed yet. That's how old the legal precedent they were digging from was. And it was crazy. When the main guy they chose for his legal precedent for getting rid of Roe v. Wade, his big claim to fame was burning women at the stake for witchcraft. And that was how they justified it. So the Supreme Court's off their fucking rockers. So these right-wing Christian nationalist groups want to push Christian values and all that nonsense onto the country, not really understanding the Constitution. They see this, and this is how Louisiana sees this, is we're going to pass this now, we're going to get sued on it, but we're hoping it goes to the Supreme Court. And since we know the Supreme Court's all corrupt and right-wing, hopefully the Supreme Court will rule in our favor, and it'll become national law. That's what they're going for. But it's all backwards, and everybody's kind of making fun of them. I don't know that it'll go that far, but here's one of the women who wrote the bill. She's on CNN. This guy does a pretty good job of roasting her, but I want to kind of double down because this is just insane. So this is one of the women who wrote the bill. So check this out.
Discuss is one of the co-authors of House Bill 71, Louisiana State Representative Lauren Ventrella. State Representative, thank you so much for being with us to share your perspective. Does the bill specify what kind of penalty teachers like that will face?
There's not any penalty under the law. It's just a requirement that the classrooms should post what we know and believe is the moral fabric, the moral fiber of our country that should be on public display, that the school children should have the opportunity to read and be exposed to.
So when you talk about the moral fiber of our country, you realize that this country is an amalgamation of cultures, right, and different faiths. And even within Christianity, people don't interpret those commandments the same way.
Well, what's important about this bill and what's important to remember about this country is that whether we like it or not, Moses is in the Supreme Court of the United States. The Ten Commandments are in the Supreme Court of the United States.
Okay. So already she's just full of shit. Right? I mean, this is just craziness. First off, there are like 3,000 denominations of Christianity just in this country. And they all have different takes on it and which ones are the 10. But the other thing about it is the Supreme Court, which is like the Supreme Court and Moses is in the Supreme Court. Okay, I don't know what that meant.
I want to know which one of them is Moses. Which one of them is Moses? So please tell us in the comments which Supreme Court justice is Moses.
Well, and I want to remind everybody too, the Jewish Historical Society of Jerusalem got $1 billion and spent 10 years with the Israeli government trying to prove Exodus happened, and what they proved was Exodus never happened. There were no Hebrews in Egypt at that time. So there couldn't have been an Exodus. So the whole Moses story is bullshit. Plus, if you look up on Google Maps, it says they spent 40 years in the desert, but you can walk from Cairo to Jerusalem in 6 days. So how do they spend 40 years lost in the desert? That just makes no sense. But just her talking about the Supreme Court and whatnot. But yes, the civil liberties groups are already going to start filing lawsuits because they have to. Because we're going to have that, but we can't have, Buddhism or Satanism or any of that stuff in there. But I wanted to go to this point of this article where the law violates long-standing Supreme Court precedent in the First Amendment. More than 40 years ago, in Stone versus Graham, the Supreme Court overturned a similar state statute holding that the First Amendment bars public schools from posting the Ten Commandments in the classroom. No other state requires the Ten Commandments to be displayed in public schools. So that's just... So when she says that's in the Supreme Court, she's full of shit. Do you need a minute or?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. So
I gotta tell you, I am just absolutely, I am not putting the Ten Commandments in my classroom. I am not in that state, but I am not putting that up. Can you imagine in New York City doing something like that when we have Jewish students, Christian students, Muslim students, and students that are none of those things, you know?
Well, and the whole thing is, I'll watch another second of this, but it kills me that this is just stupid. This whole thing is just stupid, how they're doing this whole thing. Let me play this.
Moses is on the law in Congress. This is part and ingrained in our nation. This is a historical document that's important in Louisiana because in Louisiana, we believe in faith, family, and freedom. And that...
Okay, the 3 Fs. Anyway, it's not a historical document. Historians don't consider it a historical document. It's literature. Literally, in school, you can teach the Bible as literature. You can't teach it as history because it's not historical. Are there historical things in it? Sure. But, there's historical things in Spider-Man, too.
Well, I do remember, this is not a public high school or anything like that, but I remember at Portland State, when we went there, they had a Bible as literature course, which was interesting. Yeah. So, there are a lot of ways that, people can get that education even within a public system if they want to, but this is a horse of another color.
Right. Well, I do love that. Here's where she's talking about it's important to Louisiana. This is the problem, I think, with the whole system there, is Louisiana ranks 47th out of all 50 states in education. They're one of the worst states to educate your children in. They're terrible. Why are we spending millions of dollars to legislate the Ten Commandments, which most don't even apply anymore in the United States, and we're not spending the money on Common Core curriculum or trying to make sure all the kids have lunches or books or computers or no. We got to make sure they have the fucking Ten Commandments. Timmy can't even pass the basic military exam to get into the Army because we didn't educate him. Right? He can't get a school lunch every day, but he's got the Ten Commandments in the proper font and size on the wall every day when he goes there. It's so stupid. And I love to... we can go through the commandments. I'm going to skip all that, but... Because a lot of them don't, like, thou shalt have no other God before me. Well, the First Amendment allows you to have any God you want. Right? Adultery, legal in the United States. Coveting, legal. In fact, our whole economy is based on coveting. We're capitalists.
Shopping malls base their entire business model on coveting everything you see in that darn window.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a billboard or a TV commercial or listened to the radio? Yeah. You want that. Yeah, I do want coveting. A Coke. I do want a Coke right now. He's got a point.
So basically, everybody that goes into marketing has a degree in coveting.
It just cracks me up. But the other thing I wanted to joke, because this is just funny to me. So I'm gonna read you guys something, because I was remembering. So she's up there doing this, and it's always ironic to me when women do shit like this. There's Christian women. Sorry, let me qualify that, like ultra Christian women, Because in Timothy 2:11, in the Bible, the Timothy basically says women are not allowed to teach or have authority over men. Right? So Timothy 2:11, let the woman learn in silence. So this is just a breakdown of what that is. So the apostle goes on to give some other instructions to women, how they should behave themselves in public worship. You should be paying attention, Lacey. In the church of God, he would have them be learners and not teachers. Sit and hear and learn more of Christ and of the truth of the gospel and maintain good works. And he would have them learn in silence and not offer to rise and speak under a pretense
All right, then
of
this
having,
is me paying attention.
having a word of the Lord, or being under the impulse of the Spirit of the Lord, as some frantic women have done. You know, women get frantic.
Yeah, I'll show you, frantic.
I know. But it's also covers in Timothy and other stuff. Women shouldn't adorn themselves modestly and sensibly, not braided hair, nor gold or pearls or costly attire, right?
Wait, not braiding their hair?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, good grief.
Those Jezebels.
You know what? I braid my hair like at least 3 times a week, so
Right.
apparently, I don't know.
You teach.
The harlot of the South Bronx. I wear braided hair in my classroom.
Yeah, you teach, and you're on this show giving opinions. So, yeah, you're already pissing off Jesus right now. Anyway, I just think it's funny.
Burn me at the stake.
I just think it's funny. The woman who co-authored this, who's advocating this, who's pushing this bill to put authority over men and to tell them what to teach, it's a woman whose Bible tells her not to do this specifically. That just cracks me up. And specifically tells her not to adorn herself or wear expensive clothes or jewelry or, I don't know, makeup. That's an expensive suit. That's a gold
I can
brooch,
tell you those
gold
eyelashes
necks.
are not hers.
Yep.
Those are definitely not her eyelashes.
Gold necklace, gold earrings. I bet it cost $200 to do her hair. I just love it. The people that are pushing this shit don't even read the Bible. I just love it. And she's on TV lecturing a man? The shit she's pushing, she wouldn't have the job she has. If she had her way, and we went to an evangelical sort of Christian, she wouldn't have her job. She'd be at home right now. Waiting for her husband to come home and beat her or something. I don't know.
Barefoot and pregnant?
Yeah, pretty much. She wouldn't have the nice jewelry and the clothes she has. That's the thing that kills me. She doesn't really see the end run of what they're trying to accomplish. And she's up there spearheading it for them. Yeah, take away my rights. So, anyway, that was just funny stuff from Louisiana. We'll move on to some other stuff here.